Crowhill here. Today we review a wheat beer and discuss professional sports. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Good evening, Pigweed.
Good evening, Crowhill.
What's on your mind today?
Oh, jeez. Longinus is here.
What is this extra click?
Okay, we've got an extra voice in the studio today.
right,
That's
yeah.
great. So I talked to my sister the other day,
Yeah.
and my brother-in-law, and
Yeah.
they had sent me a picture from them at the Caps game.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh gosh, that looks good. That was fun." He said, "Yeah." He said it was great. His son pulled the old "I forgot my credit card" move,
right, yeah.
which
Yeah, I remember that move.
yeah, that's a good move. And so my brother-in-law gives him the card to go up there to get 4 beers.
Okay.
Yes, the 24-ounce can of Miller Lite is $16.
Oh my gosh.
So we got four times 16.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty hefty.
So that's pretty hefty. And I'm like, what is going on with the price of professional sports?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm a full-blown capitalist, and I believe in the market, and apparently the market can bear that.
Well, so far it seems to have been. Yes.
So I'd like to talk about why it is. Why are we willing to spend that kind of money to do what? To see grown men play children's games.
It's a little more complicated than that. But
Well,
yeah, okay.
it's gonna
So-
get-
So before we do that,
Oh, let's do that.
I want to drink this Hell or High Watermelon.
Okay.
21st Amendment Brewery.
Right.
It's a wheat beer brewed with watermelon. 4.9%, which is respectable.
All right.
And I mean that's a reasonable amount. Clear, very pale. What do you get? Do you
Oh,
get
that's
some
nice.
watermelon?
I am, but only in the subtlest way, which is the way it should be. I don't want to be overwhelmed with watermelon. You're not
Right.
going to get it any other way than
Yeah.
it's
That's very
seasonal,
nice.
apparently. So it's just
It's a
coming
wheat
out this
beer.
time of year.
Very nice.
San
Actually,
Francisco, I think, all right, or in that area.
California, right?
I
Someplace.
can taste a little bit of watermelon, and it's a very nice light
It is
wheat
nice.
beer. Yeah.
It's a wheat beer. It's a good warm weather beer with a little
Right.
bit of fruitiness to
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Very good. Like
Well done,
21st
guys.
Amendment. Good job.
Hell or High Watermelon. Okay.
No, or high water.
Very good. So, why would you? So you said that it's people paying money to watch men play children's games, but I think there's something more to it, which is we all want to sort of celebrate and rejoice in physical achievement. You know, we want to see human beings doing amazing things.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what sports does. You see these.
Well,
you see
hold
some
on.
of-
Hold on. Let's talk about the changes over the last 30 years, and then discuss why it is. Why are we? Well, you're saying in general that's why we like
I'm
sports.
saying, yeah, people like sports for a very fundamental, basic human reason.
Yeah, and right. So yes, I mean that's why when they revived the Olympics,
Yeah.
and it goes back to ancient Greece,
Sure.
and we have always liked to see physical specimens achieving
Yes.
physical events at their peak.
Right, it goes back to ancient Greece, but it goes back to all cultures.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Before
that had
ancient
some
Greece,
sort of
people,
that,
people
yeah.
always had some sort of display of their prowess.
Right, and then the Romans said, "Let's do that. Plus, see people die."
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then that was really popular.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then we said that we can't do that anymore. And then MMA came along, and we said, well, maybe we could. So just looking at the numbers, and I'm thinking numbers as in, I mean, professional sports were obviously very popular when we were young, and
Yeah.
that was 20 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. But the viewership,
Yeah.
the cost of the salaries of
Yeah.
the participants, and the cost for a family to attend a game,
Right.
just seems to me that they have really spiked over my lifetime. You've got the
Do you want me to share this?
the curve. What do you have here? Ticket prices?
So this is inflation adjusted average price of attending an Major League Baseball game.
What do you mean by inflation adjusted?
So in today's dollars.
Okay.
Okay. So from 1970 to the present.
This is what, baseball?
Baseball.
Okay.
In 1970, $10. And then it goes up $12.50, $18.75, $25. In 2023, $40.
Right.
So that's way faster.
That's
than,
outstripping inflation because
this is inflation adjusted. So, a family of four could go to the game in 1970 for $40 in today's money. And a family for four in today's money would go for 160.
So I read this paper, and they used the CFI, the FCI, which is the fan cost index, and it goes like this: ticket, hot dog, a beer, soft drink, a parking space, a program, and just so you have a number that you can work. That you're doing apples to apples, and you had, and this is cost adjusted, 176 between 176 to 412 between 91 and 2009, and so what this is, they did it from 91 to 2009 while projecting out to 2019, and I'm sure you could get these modern numbers now. The adjustment, it says, if trends continue, Dallas and New England are each projected to have 2019 FCIs over $1,000. 6 teams will be projected for over $800.
No, I can't imagine spending that kind of money. I would.
So you're saying it would cost $800 to take a family of four, or $800 for yourself, right?
For a family of four, right? And so I think to myself, we don't have unlimited income. We have our expendable family fun income. In the fall, you can get a oceanfront hotel for less than $100.
Yeah.
So that's 2 nights in Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday, you can go down to the bar and see the ocean roll in and watch the game and give your wife $300 to take the kids somewhere to have. I mean, for less than the $800, is that more of your family fun than 3 hours at a game?
It's a ridiculous expense. I like football. I watch football. I follow football somewhat.
Yeah.
Most other sports, baseball, basketball stuff, golf, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the idea, I like football, but there's no way in the world I'm going to spend $1,000 to go watch a football game.
Then you would think that the market would agree with you, and we wouldn't have 70,000 people in a stadium.
Apparently, there are a lot of people who are willing to pay.
Apparently, they are. Yeah. And as a good capitalist and as a good market forces guy, I am only slightly mad about that.
Well, I'm not mad about it at all. If people want to spend that, that's fine. Like people who want to go to a Taylor Swift concert and spend some enormous amount of money to get a ticket to Taylor Swift. I'll just, first of all, I don't really care, but if I wanted to see it, I'll just watch the YouTube video, thank you.
Well, let me ask you this question. Yeah. If Baltimore City government, Mayor Scott decided to say, all right, we need, the Ravens and the Baltimore Orioles are Baltimoreans teams.
Yeah.
And we need to subsidize a certain amount of seats to allow folks of less means to be able to enjoy the game,
right.
Live experience. So we are going to pass a law that states that, the Ravens has to put aside 8%, 6% of their seats. That would be under, which you could pick up for $25. Now,
why?
Would you all be?
Well,
no.
Yes and no.
Be in favor.
Hold on, all right. So this is I'm going to back up in a minute. I'm going to jump to the end and I'll go back to the beginning. But this is over the next decade, the NFL is guaranteed $125.5 billion just in television money. Mm-hmm. I think that. Not using taxpayers' dollars. I mean, I don't know how you would put the screws to the NFL except for just plain shaming them. You can't come up with, 1,000 seats that I don't know who's going to distribute these to people who can't pay $1,000.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that? So
I even think it gets worse.
Yes,
I even
you
think
can
it gets
do
worse
I don't agree with it. I don't see any reason to do anything like that.
I think it even gets worse because if you really look at it, the folks who own those stadiums are the Maryland Stadium Authority, and how much of your tax dollars have gone in
that's
to
another
creating
question.
them.
That's
we built the stadium.
So the idea is, if we're using tax dollars to do that,
and why is that going on?
Why
Why are teams being able to put the screws to the city?
I don't know.
Going
because it's grift. Somebody is getting paid off. I mean,
They're going.
it's not
If
that.
the city can't build me the
Every
stadium,
study-
we're going to move our team. Really, $125 billion.
Every study of this shows that when the city invests a bunch of money to build a stadium that's allegedly going to bring in all this money, it never does.
What
So
you mean
obviously
on
there's
local
something else going
local
on.
bar tabs
Yeah.
are going to
Yeah, it does.
pay
Right.
back $1 billion stadium?
No, it doesn't happen. So what happens? So the other explanation for this is that people are getting their palms greased.
I think it's just Baltimore and the state want these teams here for various reasons.
Right, but
There's a stat. There's a certain
it's not an
status.
economic reason.
There's a certain stat like the difference between Pittsburgh and Omaha. They probably have the same population. But you know what? Everybody knows about Pittsburgh because they have 3 major sports teams.
Right.
And Omaha is like, what do they do out there? I mean,
Steaks, Omaha steaks.
They do steaks and have rodeos, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of puts you on the map a little bit when you have professional teams. And so
But
that
is
gives
that
us
to the
a
benefit
certain...
of the public?
Well, it gives a state. I think that you have a certain cachet as being a city that can support a professional sports team. I don't know. It means you're a top tier city.
Right. I don't know if anybody's done or I've never read a report that calls out the indirect economic assets of having stadiums here. But the idea of having a ball game in Baltimore City and thousands of people just walking the streets and making it look lively and all that.
Yes.
That itself, I think, is what is the reason why you would have the state.
It is, but they're not. That's actually not where I wanted to go with this show necessarily, to pick on the teams for not ponying up enough money. But what I am getting at is we as a culture,
right,
are far more professional sports centric than we ever were when I was a kid. And so let's think back to Longinus. Do you remember Ken Beatrice? Here you are on Sports Talk? Sports Call.
Yeah.
So this guy knew everything about everything in terms of sports, but it was like, 31 hour a night, maybe?
Yeah.
So what?
Now we have 24/7. We have like 5 24/7 sports shows.
Exactly.
Well,
so we
right,
never.
right.
So you had remember Wild World of Sports? What was that?
Yeah.
1 hour every Saturday at 2.
So
And
why
so-
the rise of popularity?
Yes. So you had what? So then you got cable TV. You had to fill it with something. Then you had ESPN, the first 24-hour sports network, and then you had 24-hour sports radio. So every market has at least one 24-hour. People talk about football all year round.
So let me
What's going on?
say a very elitist, snobby thing.
Go ahead.
Is it because everybody's just getting stupider? Like nobody has interests in the theater, in art, in music, in anything else. The only thing they have interest in is football or sports.
Well, that's one. So we're richer.
Yeah.
We have more expendable entertainment money.
Yeah.
And we have
our
less
tastes are
less
lower.
Yes, and we have less taste.
Yeah.
Wait. Here's another one. I think that and this is Danny Borston saying this, the unpredictability when you begin watching a game, you don't know the outcome. When you start watching a sitcom or another TV show or a drama or a cop show, you know the outcome at the end.
Yeah,
So the idea of not having that predictability.
that's true.
I
And
think
that is one thing about
part
sports that's interesting.
And they also, I think, the right and wrongness of the moral clarity that we used to have about what's right and wrong is gone, and so we are much more ambiguous about what's right and wrong. But
So you put that out on our
but
sports
on
team?
but on sports, the ball is in or it's out. You touched the line or you didn't touch the line, and I think there's a certain moral certainty that we enjoy
Right.
about sports that we can all agree on. He caught the ball before he touched the base. That man is out. We're not wishy-washy about, it's sort of culturally relative about whether or not that's actually an in or an out.
back
I think
when I
maybe
was
that's part of the appeal.
Yeah. I mean, that could
That's
be
interesting. Back when I was
Yeah.
a stroke and turns judge for a swim team,
Right?
there was a lot of controversy over whether you should give the younger kids a break. Like the rules were too strict.
Okay.
If you have to touch with two hands, sorry. Maybe they can't do that, or you have to spin the stroke a certain way. So there were some people who wanted, let's relax the rules for the young kids or something like that, and that ties in a little bit with what you're saying. Is that no? I'm sorry. This is the butterfly. You're either doing the butterfly or you're not doing the butterfly.
Right.
And
However, if all of the judges agree that our new standard is going to be
yes, but it has to be. It can't just be this wishy-washy.
Yes,
I'm trying to be nice because.
And I think perhaps that is part of the appeal of sports.
Could be.
I don't know. What about this though? I meant to look it up. I'm sure there was a franchise that was the first sports bar.
Yeah.
Because I remember this was not even that long ago. By the time when I was first started drinking, there were no TVs in bars.
No.
A bar was a bar. I mean,
for one thing, TVs were more expensive, and there weren't as many channels.
And they were huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You had to hang that big, huge thing up on a thing. So if you just went into a corner Baltimore bar, there's a jukebox or there's silence.
Right.
And
Right.
now
on the
people
dartboard,
people don't know how to handle that lack of distraction anymore. So first you had the sports bar. You're like, oh, what? A place where you go and watch sports? That's interesting. And then, little by little, especially I think, as you're saying, with the technology and the expense and the ease of having screens, then every corner-ass bar has sports on.
And like 5 different TVs, too.
And it's not even a sports bar anymore. And even an upscale hotel bar.
Yeah.
They may not have the sound on, but they're still going to have that distraction. And even with that distraction, people still spend, if they don't have somebody to engage with, they're still staring at their phones.
Yeah.
So I think psychologically we've got, go ahead.
Yeah, I hate it when I go out to I want to have a nice dinner with my wife, and I go out to this restaurant and there's all these TV screens all over the place.
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't want that. I don't want TV screens. It's annoying. But so the sports serves a lot of different functions in a society. One function it serves is teaching young men to be part of a team, to be disciplined, to
take some knocks,
right? To not be a crybaby. There's a lot of social function to sports that's very important. And so I'm entirely in favor of sports. However, this idea of spending this extraordinary amount of money to go to the game, okay, if other people want to do that, fine, you can do that. I'm just going to watch it on the TV.
Right.
but
it sounds like you're in favor of the little leagues and the kids
I
doing
like
it. But
professional sports.
Are you in favor of the guy who wakes up Saturday morning at 9 and starts getting ready for the college games and then goes right into the professional games and he doesn't do anything else except for a case of beer, and
If that's what he wants to do, fine. I don't have any problem with that. People can do what they want to do. If somebody wants to spend their entire day tailgating and then
Right.
watching the college game and then go into the local bar, fine, do
but
that.
I guess I'm.
How
does that contribute to
But weren't you saying that?
the
Weren't you saying that?
positive
Yeah, that it's an indication of our lack of culture.
Well, it's two things at once. On the one hand, it's a uniting factor. You have a bunch of people going to a Ravens game, and it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're a Jew or a Christian, if you're, what, all these other distinctions melt away. You're a Ravens fan for that time. So that is an important, interesting social phenomenon, right? So it's kind of a glue that pulls people together.
Right.
So that's all good. However, just generally speaking, if the whole culture is aiming at sort of low culture things, then that's a bad thing. If everybody's listening to going to rock concerts and sports games and nobody's going to the museum and nobody's looking at going to the opera and that sort of thing, that's a bad thing. The culture is declining in a strong way.
Yeah, I think so. What about players' salaries in let's just say 1975
Yeah.
or 1970 was $30,000, which is $240,000 today for an average salary.
Not
Which to me-
inflation adjustments. You're just saying that the average salary then versus the average salary now.
No. That is inflation adjusted. So
What?
So when you were
30,000 in 1970 is 240,000.
right, so in 1970 you were doing pretty good,
Yeah.
even at 30,000.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were all just barely getting by, but compared to $3.5 million,
Yeah.
which is what is like a baseline salary
Right.
today, it's nothing. And to me, I think for a guy who probably didn't graduate college and maybe is not giving up his law career to play football, but is getting $250,000. I don't know. That seems pretty good. But but when you get back to if the money is there to be made,
Yeah.
who do you want to make it?
Exactly. So that is one part of it. Another thing to think about is we go farther back than 1970. In the early days of the NFL, for example, a lot of the players had other jobs. It wasn't a full-time gig playing for whatever the football team was. You had your job, you were a butcher or whatever, and then on the weekend you played football. And then it became a professional thing. And then it became, a lot of things changed. Like,
Remember Chris Hamburger's Ford? Right, so these guys made enough money to buy a car dealership because
Right.
the
and the name recognition.
Yeah, right.
Right. And
Geno's.
a few other things.
Geno's.
A few other things have contributed to this increase in the prices. One is luxury seating. Like back in the old days, the seats were all the same, and there were no luxury booths or anything like that. Another thing is obviously the salaries. Another thing is apparently free agency. Free agency had a big impact on the salaries that the players were.
Yeah, because so, and again, as a good capitalist, I would rather have the guy who's doing the work have more control than the owners who are colluding together, going, all right, do we all agree we're not paying anybody more than $30,000 a year? All right, that's it. So that all right, guys.
As long as all this money is coming in, where do you want it to go? Well, I want it to go to the players.
Yes,
as much as possible.
but
Yeah.
at the expense of a $16 beer.
Well, but that's the supply and demand part of it.
Right.
So if people are willing to go to the game, where they have to spend $50 just to get in, they have to spend $20 to park, they have to spend $16 for a beer. If they're willing to do that,
But
I'm not going to complain about that.
Well, the only thing I'm complaining about is it used to be a regular guy's experience.
Yes, and it's becoming an elite experience. Yes,
it's becoming elite, right? I mean,
it's just becoming an elite experience, but there is the democracy of it that you could go to any corner bar and watch a game.
Yeah,
right. There were just like eating crabs. Right. It used to be like a poor man's thing. Like, you know what I mean? You get a dozen of crabs for $6, and you sit out with the family. And now you gotta be rich to eat crabs.
Yeah. That has to do with other factors. It has more to do with like how well the crabs are doing in the bay, but still
No, it's not. I mean, no, it's not sports related. But I'm just going. It just seems like regular man experiences. When I was a kid.
Yeah.
So my brother was old enough. So he's 17. He can drive, and I'm 12. I can't drive, and so for Christmas, I go with my mom down to the Heck Company and get $4 nosebleed seats to go see the Bullets. I mean, now what's it's $4? Okay,
yeah.
So all right, so maybe a minimum wage was $2, so it's double minimum wage. What is it now to sit in the nosebleed seats? A week's pay?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot more. Yeah. So the
What's going on?
So part of it is that people are willing to pay that,
Right.
which bewilders me, but people are willing to pay it.
And there's many reasons why people are willing to pay for that.
Well, I mean, you already brought up a couple of things, which are I think the camaraderie that we're lacking in real life.
Yes.
Like you say, you know, you score a touchdown and you turn around and hug and high five everybody in your section.
Yeah.
And you're part of something because and is it because we don't have enough of that in our real lives? And we've talked about this on other shows and other issues. Is this a hole left by the lack of religion that is being filled by sports?
Well, it in some sense it might be a lack of religion, but I think in other senses it's just a lack of any kind of
community
community involvement and other things. Like, think of all the things we've lost. It used to be people were members of the Elks Lodge or the Moose Lodge or the whatever else it was.
Boy
Scouts, and they were on bowling leagues. All these things that brought community together, and a lot of the things that bring community together have vanished.
Right, Bowling Alone. That's the famous book by Robert Putnam. Talks about bowling alone and talking about sort of the demise of all of those sort of the bowling leagues and the things that you would do.
But it's bigger than bowling. Here, Longinus, you would probably know more about this. What can you explain to the audience what blue laws were back in the day? The Colts were the only team that started at 2. Everybody played at 1:00, except for the Colts. They played at 2:00.
Really?
Because Baltimore had no stores were open. There was no commerce going on, so that everybody had a chance to go to church first, and there was no shopping and no Walmart and no anything. Right. And Baltimore was the only team that started at 2:00. And so they had like
allow people to go to church, come back, and then get ready for the game.
Regroup and then go to the big game. And I think that what we now have is sports in place of
there's certainly a lot of that. There's certainly a lot
because we were talking about the market and all. You wouldn't have that level of interest if we had other things on our mind. Of course, cable TV and all of the constant access. Oh, there was what was I saying about the if you didn't sell out with the blackout. Blackout, is that the word I'm thinking of?
If you didn't sell enough tickets, then there was a blackout. You couldn't watch it on TV.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Right. So this whole thing about the relationship between church and sports is interesting because even like Catholic sports, you wouldn't. It would be hard to believe this, but even Catholic sports, they would have games at 10:00 on Sunday morning. And you're like, really?
Right.
what do you think?
You go to the Saturday night
Well,
mass.
yeah, exactly. But the idea is that all these other things become a bigger priority than religion.
Right.
And
And
so
I think
there's some amount of that.
there is some amount of that.
And let's not forget about the power of marketing and advertising,
Yeah.
and the way they organize themselves to sell themselves and to sell that camaraderie.
Right.
That
And
I mean, that's totally
that's
part
a
of
very
it.
that's a very good point,
Yeah.
because there was, but you look back in the day, you had 3 channels.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember the they would play the Star Spangled Banner at midnight or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
boom, you're done.
Right, the channel, right? The TV's done for the night, okay. And now we have
Would that be nice?
yes, isn't it? 8 zillion channels, 24 hours a day, always.
Well,
always.
part of it. One thing we have to factor into all this is just the rise of entertainment in general as being
Right.
a bigger part of culture.
Yeah, so I went to see.
The rise of the weekend, right? I mean that had to be here first before you could go to a weekend game.
Yeah.
And how is it that I could afford to go see Bruce Springsteen while I was in high school?
Right.
Seemed like a more reasonable ticket to me as a grown-ass man with a career. Now I'm like, how much?
Yeah.
So it was like it was $15. So making it's 4 times minimum wage. Well, what's 4 times minimum wage now would be $40
Yeah.
or $6. And now you can't go see that withered up Bruce Springsteen, 80 years old. Can't even move on the stage, and I got to pay $250.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yes, so it's just like our willingness to spend money on entertainment.
It seems
Have we expanded the entertainment options so you can still get a $10 entertainment experience, but
Well,
maybe not to the Bruce Springsteen?
I think
No,
it's-
you can go to
the question
minor league, but I don't know about
I
monster truck.
I think a big part of it is we have just changed the value of entertainment.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
entertainment is now much more valuable than it was 30 or 40 years
So
ago.
I went with Tim and Bernie and all of those guys shortly in our early 20s to the Cap Center, barely a car in the lot, to go in and pay almost nothing to go see professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was hilarious, and we got $4 beers and stuff like that. And now you want to take your kids? It's $175 to go to a stadium
to fake
with
wrestling?
50,000 people. You know what I mean? At least this was a small venue. Now you go to a football stadium practically.
Yeah.
How far are you away to spend $100? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, okay. So
I mean, how's the market driving this?
So let's
Like
break
you
this
said.
down. Is it the market driving it, or what was there at any time in the past any sort of public involvement in the cost of going to the baseball game? Like, for example, nowadays when somebody says they want to build a stadium in a new city, the city gets involved and they promote it. Okay, so nowadays there's clearly some public government involvement in building stadiums. Was that true in the past? If somebody wanted to build a stadium back in 1965, did the city get involved? Or what was
Probably
going on?
not.
Well, no.
Or do you know?
Baltimore built Memorial Stadium in '52, and it built the other stadium, the municipal stadium back in '30. So yeah, but I don't think they built the stadium that was in Peabody Heights. So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Okay.
But there
were
was
private and public stadiums.
right. I mean but it was owned and run by Rec and Parks at the time, and it was all for creating outlets for Baltimoreans to do things in the city.
Yeah,
But
there was-
how about this? This good.
I was also going to say, and if you just read the newspaper, the newspapers back in those days would announce the games of every, it's not even Little League, but every league and game that was in Baltimore. So like, you know, the Lorville Flowers were playing the Arcadia Astros, you know, and so did this and that, and boom. So I don't know if there were more, like, you know, adult leagues, or, you know, there were ways to entertain yourself.
Is there a sense in which sports events have changed from community building civic events into profit making enterprises? So
television.
Yeah. So
they
based on
are, but I
television.
mean, the just the average human being's interest in professional sports
has gone up.
is so right. So who I don't. Nobody's listening, calling into radio shows 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Why are we so much? You know, like you said, if the money is out there, the money is out there because we want it to be, because we're spending the money for it. But
if you
I just find it kind of weird.
Small town America in the Midwest, and there's a Friday night high school game. People are there that don't have kids playing there. You know?
I understand. Like Texas is like Friday night.
Friday night's a big thing.
Like right, Friday night to go see the high school team. You're right.
Yeah.
Your kids are in their 30s, and you're still going.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks to
the community
aspect.
Side of it.
Right.
Yeah, but then and as far as filling in for religion, how about just being a part of something greater than yourself?
Yeah.
I think that there's a little bit of that. Now we have, when I was kids, people had jackets, but wearing jerseys with another person's name on them, that was never a thing.
No,
right?
I don't remember anybody ever doing that.
Yeah, so that's become, but now it's like I'm almost on the team, right? In a way that
that's marketing, right? I mean, that's the sort of that marketing piece. Oh yeah, you need to get yourself a jersey.
It's also
Ray Rice jersey.
It's also the fact that it's easier nowadays to print multiple versions of a jersey.
That's true too.
Just because of technology.
But they make them in China. And they're still $150.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that's nuts. So I remember it's 1972. You might find it hard to believe that I was alive then, but Doug Rahm lived 2 doors up. He shows up with his Redskin jersey on during the Super Bowl, and asks if I want to come out and play.
There you go.
All right, Doug, you and your jersey. Dumb jacket. No, not a jersey. It was pre-jersey. With your jacket with the the leather sleeves. It was a nice jacket. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? I was watching the game. So there was.
Okay, so how about this question? What would you rather people do? They want to do a family thing on the weekend, and they've got $1,000 to spend for the family of 4. What would you rather them do than go to the football game?
Yes, I'd rather them go get a cabin and a canoe and some cards, and then go and get the most expensive dinner you could imagine in this small town, and still come home with $500
in their pockets. Yeah.
So hold on. So that's good, because one of these articles talked about the spike in English Premier League tickets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're crazier.
They're crazy.
They're crazier than America.
Yeah. Yes. Soccer has been a religion longer than American football or American sports. Yes. So, but at least there was a period, just like here, when it was affordable to the regular guy. Mm-hmm. Then there was this massive spike, and during this spike in ticket prices, the percentage of people going to the game that were 20 and below was 24%, and then it dropped to 9%.
Wow.
And so just in terms of the family and the future of your sport.
Yeah.
You would think you would want to make it family friendly and not for corporations who buy a bunch of tickets and give them to the only kids who are going are corporations who've given themselves to giving that money to salesmen who can take their families,
right.
And just to have the regular bloke on the street be able to go see a soccer game.
Yeah.
Football, sorry.
Yeah. Football.
English football.
Yeah, English football. Yeah. All right, so we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this thing
so
up.
What,
anyway,
what do you think? What do you think the solution to all this
Is there a solution?
I don't know.
Is
I don't know
there
if
a problem? Right?
Exactly. I'm not sure there is a problem.
We haven't even
you have people
identified the
people
problem.
who want to go spend a bunch of money and go to a game, and I'm like, okay, fine, do that.
Now, you do see, they always point out, you're at a game, and they point out the worst section in the stadium where the Orioles have donated, 50 tickets to this underprivileged elementary school and stuff like that. So can we encourage that without, passing a law, right? So let's, we don't need the opposite of shaming is just celebrating, right?
Yeah.
Say, Baltimore Orioles organization, it's so nice of you and whoever else to help people who can't pay, families that can't pay $800.
Yeah.
Can't you just it's too much to ask. He's got $125 billion just from TV money. It doesn't even count the $80 for parking and the $16 beer. Can't you?
Personally, what I'd rather see is a bunch of people in a neighborhood getting together in somebody's basement, watching the game, and drinking some beers out of a cooler. That's what I'd rather see.
How about after you put up a big screen after the church service?
Yeah.
Everybody hangs around.
There you go.
And watches the football game and continues to have a little fellowship.
Yeah.
With a couple of beers.
What's wrong with that?
Okay. All right. I do love professional sports, but I just find I think it's getting almost too weird.
It's getting weird. It is getting weird.
It's getting expensive.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.